Phase 2 now, unconstitutional presidential amnesty. It's beginning to flood the border states with illegals once again. However, not according to Obama hack and Secretary of Homeland Security Jeh Johnson. He says, down along the border, things are just great.
The bottom line of all of this is, in recent years, the total number of those who attempt to illegally cross our southwest border has declined dramatically, while the percentage of those who are apprehended has gone up. Put simply, it's now much harder to cross our border illegally and evade capture than it used to be, and people know that.
Foreign extremists penetrating our country through our southern border is not the thing that I most worry about.
Now, in reality, if you ask the agents at the border, the truth is they are witnessing another spike in illegals, including young children, and many children are traveling alone. So here's the question. If the injunction blocking unconstitutional amnesty remains in place, will it have any effect at all on the Obama open border policy and its subsequent fallout? Joining me now, attorney, legal analyst, and Daily Ledger contributor Michelle Burton. Michelle, about 3 weeks till the DOJ goes back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans to argue for lifting the injunction blocking unconstitutional amnesty. What do you think the argument's going to be from the government?
Well, Graham, first of all, I think the use of the word amnesty is somewhat of a misnomer because the ruling has nothing to do with amnesty. The entire ruling is based on whether the president's programs to move certain groups of people to the back of the line to avoid deportation is constitutional or not, and whether those programs can proceed while they're being litigated on the merits. So
okay, but in the Fifth Circuit,
this has nothing to do with amnesty.
Okay, yeah, it's true in the Fifth Circuit, correct? This has to do with an injunction blocking whatever you want to call the president's program. Right?
It is an injunction. So the way that an injunction works is that the president cannot put his programs into place while the injunction remains in force and effect.
We got that. So what do you think the DOJ is going to argue then to try and lift this injunction?
The ruling actually was very narrow by the trial court and up at the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which focused on an area of the law or the statute that basically said that the president failed to give the 30-day notice and comment period. So there is going to be no argument on the merits about whether or not the president's plan is constitutional when it goes back to the Fifth Circuit on July 10th, I believe is the date. So it's coming up quickly. So the government is going to take the position that the president has broad powers under the Federal Immigration Act to put these plans into place, and that if anything, if he's required to give a 30-day notice and comment period, the injunction should be lifted so that it can go back, he can perform that, and then start this process all over again.
One of the issues, of course, in any court case is standing. And I've heard the government attorneys say that, or at least they tried to argue, that Texas and the other 25 states have no standing, and also that they weren't harmed by this action. And first of all, I think that clearly they have standing. All 50 states have standing if they chose to join this case. And secondly, indeed, of course, there's a social welfare system that's going to be hammered by a flood of illegal immigrants. So,
well, that's not technically correct. I mean, I think that that's a little bit of the sky is falling. The administration is actively campaigning for illegals not to come to the United States. So the program that the president is trying to put into place actually deals with immigrants that are here, existing in the United States now. And what are we going to do with them? There are a lot of benefits to doing some sort of immigration reform. And the longer that the system remains dysfunctional, the worse off it is for immigrants and their families, even, to get them for some sort of path to citizenship so that they can become contributing taxpayers would be a good thing.
Okay, but it's dysfunctional because the president is choosing not to enforce the law. We have laws on the books that he's not enforcing.
No, it is dysfunctional because the Republican Party has said they will not do anything about immigration and they will not address it.
But we have laws on the books that require illegal immigrants to be deported, and they're not being deported. So,
Graham, would you rather the Department of Homeland Security spend its time deporting housekeepers and people washing dishes rather than focusing on the threat of terrorists and people that could actually do harm to the country coming in? That is not a good use of the Department of Homeland Security.
I'd like them to do both because that's their job. And by the way, just this week, there was a case of a 16-year-old girl being raped by 3 El Salvadorian immigrants here, part of the Barack Obama DACA program, teenagers.
Rape happens all the time at fraternity parties.
I know, but are you dismissing rape?
I'm not
16-year-old girl?
dismissing rape. What I'm dismissing is that you're trying to say that immigrants are a class of people that rape.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that one girl being raped in this country from an illegal immigrant or one police officer being killed from an illegal immigrant is one too many.
Well, I agree with you there, Graham, but I also agree that you have a department and in every aspect you have to set priorities. What is the goal of the Department of Homeland Security? What do you really want them to focus on? You want them to protect the borders from terrorists that are coming in, from people, from groups like ISIS, from people that can really do some damage to the United States. Not to be focusing on, deporting somebody's grandmother who's been in the country for 30 years.
But even whether they're criminals or not, Michelle, you have to have a system in place that gets rid of people who have broken into this country illegally. Otherwise, you lose your sovereign nation.
No, we are a nation of immigrants.
No, we're not. We're a nation of Americans.
Doesn't the Statue of Liberty actually say, give me you're hungry, you're tired, you're poor?
Yes, but we are a nation of Americans. I'm an American. I'm not an immigrant. Are you?
What about the children that were born here to illegal immigrants that do not have United States citizenship?
There's every exception.
Just as much Americans as anybody else. They were born here on United States soil. It's not their fault that their parents came here and tried to get a better life.
That's the 14th Amendment. That's another topic for another show. We're out of time. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.